Let's get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's window decorating workshop. My name is Tuğba Baloğlu. I am Neighborhood Business and Real Estate Specialist at Shaker Heights Development Corporation. A little housekeeping before we get started. Please keep your microphone on mute during the presentation to cut on background noise. And just a reminder, we are recording this workshop and it will be available to view on SHTC's YouTube channel probably tomorrow. And if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. We will have some time for questions at the end. Okay, let's get started. Today's workshop is presented by the creative team at Upcycle Parts Shop. Upcycle Parts Shop is a nonprofit and opened its doors in 2014. Their mission is to provoke creativity and promote community through reuse, resourcefulness, and relationships. Their retail store is full of paper, art and craft supplies, wood pieces, magazines, maps, and so much more unique items that are donated by individuals and organizations in the community. Today, they will present low-cost, eco-friendly, and fun ideas and strategies to inspire your storefront window design for the second annual Shaker Shines Holiday Window Decoration Showcase. Whether you're new to window design or looking for ideas on how to make your storefront look better and stand out during the holiday season, Nicole and Cass will give you great tips so you can create a beautiful and attractive window displays without breaking the budget. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters, Nicole Mckee. She is co-founder and executive director of Upcycle Parts Shop. She's also an artist and entrepreneur. And Cass Jerman, she is a shop and materials manager, volunteer coordinator at Upcycle Parts Shop. Thank you both for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. That was a really beautiful introduction. And you might have seen us swoon just past our strategic plan, and we added a few words to our mission. And that is the first public moment where someone else has said them. So thank you. We added the words resourcefulness and reuse. I'm sorry, reuse, resourcefulness, and relationships to our mission. So thank you, Tuba. I wanted to sort of just say thank you for having us here, and it's great to talk with you all again. We have a slideshow because I'm a very visual person. I like to lean on slides to sort of move along the conversation and give an overview and talk a little bit about who we are and why we're here talking with you. And then Cass, my colleague, is going to sort of get into some of the ideas we have. And then we hope to take you on a tour of the shop, which will involve us walking with our laptop downstairs. And our shop's open, and so that will just be sort of a bit of a wild card that we're looking forward to. So that said, I see that we currently, I know that this is being recorded for the future, but we currently have a small group, and I think last year we started out with just getting a sense of if anybody wanted to share a goal that they have with being here today. I think that Sarah is here, and then am I right that there's a couple people who are not sharing their screen, or are we one person right now? I'm not good enough at Teams to know what we're looking at, but I'd love to hear if anyone, Sarah or anyone else, wants to share a goal of what they hope to accomplish today, or how they want to feel after we're done. Standing by. Oh, Sarah, it looks like you have something to share. You're muted. Thank you for leaning in, though.
I'm not used to Teams either. First time. Together. Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm excited to hear what you guys are doing. I did the windows last year at Master Mars, and I think we kind of had the spirit of your organization, which is we used their Taekwondo belts and made like a paper chain out of them. So we used stuff that was already there. I only had to buy like a couple strings of light. So we want to do something a little bit different. So interested to see what you have and to make it really, you know, be like kind of a wow thing. It was kind of sparse, I guess would be the word. I want to make it look a little more, you know, exciting and powerful. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Does anybody else want to share? Okay. Okay. Well, the chat function.
I'm a little late popping in. This is Michelle Frierson. I'm gonna I'm going to share my screen briefly. I'm at home on maternity leave, and so I'm looking kind of rough, and I'm tending to my little one. But my office is on the Chagrin and Lee district, and we don't have like a lot of decorations and excitement going on that end. But because of the type of work that I do, I'm hoping to kind of inspire my clients to tap into like their creative side, using arts and crafts more, just to change the energy of their space and how they feel overall. And I think it'll just be exciting for our building to do something different this year. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish this year. So I'm going back off video because I got, but
fair
hi
enough.
everybody.
Thank you. You look wonderful. Thank you for jumping in and
no problem.
sharing that. Thank you. That's very helpful for us to know where you're coming from. And I will also say last year we did do a presentation that is available with a link on YouTube, and I'm going to reference that and just sort of suggest if you want more thinking on storefronts and great examples. Like I shared some examples from anthropology and different storefronts that are beyond the scope of what we have done or what we see often in Cleveland, but they're really great examples. So if you're thinking big, there are some examples on last year's presentation. And then I'll just ask lastly, anybody else want to share anything before we start the presentation? Well, you're welcome to, oh, I see Lisa, I see another hand. Is somebody, sorry.
Hi,
I think there's somebody. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, we moved to a new location and we have giant arched windows. So I'm hoping to get some good ideas on arched window decorating. It's not your typical storefront with square right on the sidewalk, but large arched windows is what we're looking for this year.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. All right, so it's helpful just to know who we're talking with and what we're sharing. I'm going to pull up this presentation, and please use the chat function and lean on Tuba to give us a sense of if somebody has a question as we're going. But, we just want to give a little bit of an overview. I used to teach at Tri-C, and I was telling Cass, like, oh, no, I feel the teacher vibe coming on. It's like I brought a guest with me, and so it's fun. It's fun to have Cass with me here. But we also just kind of wanted to ground it in who we are and what we're here today. So the overview of what we thought we'd share is exactly that, who we are, and then share a couple case studies. One is thinking about how we represent businesses, and then recognizing, and I think that those of you who are here already recognize this, that the storefront is the windows, the storefront, a real estate opportunity. This is an extension of what we do inside can come outside. I get kind of nerdy about a few opportunities with that storefront and that storefront real estate. And those nerdy opportunities are scale, proximity, and repetition. And I think we heard that from Sarah with the Taekwondo. Like, sometimes things look sparse if we don't have enough repetition, but that is an opportunity we can plan for. Then Cass is going to share with you a little bit what we learned when we worked with some merchants from Shaker Heights last year and how we can work with what we have, what we've learned, what you all shared with us, and we came up with some tiers of commitment, not to be confused with TEARS, we promise. Really, we're very friendly and we'll encourage the heck out of you, but we wanted to recognize people are coming into this kind of project from different tiers. So we'll talk about that. And then if we have time, we'll take you downstairs on the shop tour and show you some examples of what those tiers look like and even our own shop. And then if we have time, we'll do questions and answers too. So Upcycle Part Shop is a storefront in the St. Clair Superior neighborhood of Cleveland. This is what we look like from the outside. It's bright, vibrant. There's fabric hanging in our windows. We have stickers on the outside of our windows that were honestly one of the best investments we've ever made. I don't even know the name of the company because we did this 6 years ago when we put those on there, but I recommend vinyl windows or vinyl stickers like this because they can talk about you even when you're closed. And that works well for us. We don't actually have a sign on the building. This is just what our storefront looks like. And for anyone that is an astute student, you'll notice this is the same picture we shared last year because we're a small business. It's very busy with our work. We don't actually change out our storefront displays, but we do believe in using that real estate in a way that communicates who we are and what we do all year round. And we convey color and warmth and some of what we do inside. through those windows. So the work that we do inside is it's a business, but it is a nonprofit business based around this mission to provoke creativity and promote community through reuse, resourcefulness, and relationships. So thank you, Tuba, for already shining the light on that. We do that work through our retail shop. It's like secondhand thrift shop meets creativity and art supplies. It's open 4 days a week, and it's open to the public now. Last year it was not. Now it is open to the public, so you do not need an appointment 4 days a week. We also do programs and workshops. Those can be public and community and private events. And then we do community building. The neighborhood that we're in, the St. Clair Superior neighborhood, is an important part of what we do and how we do it and why we do it. So the first case study I wanted to share with you is that yesterday we were on Kicking It with Kenny, which was, I can't stop talking about it. Like, it was so fun. It was so exciting. It was such a big part of my week. And it starts really early, Kicking It with Kenny. But I wanted to bring this example because we were off-site. So our neighbor, Rebuilders Exchange, is an architectural salvage warehouse, and she hosted merchants from our neighborhood, and we were highlighting businesses that are on St. Clair Avenue. And the Van Gogh show, you may know, is in our neighborhood on 72nd Street, but people are coming in and sort of leaving. And so we're saying, hey, there's businesses here. You should come see us. So we created our own website, and that was the reason why we invited Kenny to join us and talk about St. Clair Avenue. But the reason why I wanted to bring this to your attention is that it was an opportunity to take part of our shop, what we could, and convey what we do on a small table. So you can see that, you know, it took me a couple bins of packing up, and it doesn't look like our shop, but it does look like us. It was that like real estate opportunity on a small table. We were there with some of our neighbors, which was kind of the whole point. There were 8 of us only, but it was a good sample size of like different businesses on St. Clair Avenue. Cafe LA is down the street from us. She brought some of her food. She brought some of her flyers that are pink. Our friend Jessica, who runs the architectural salvage company, put them in front, or put her in front of a door that was like the same color as her business. And so I'm sharing this to say, like, the idea of real estate and how you take with you who you are and what your business does. And an opportunity like this is a good exercise to think about how you're conveying who you are outside of your door when the shop might not be open, when your place might be closed, or at the holidays when you want to really shine a light on your place. So it's kind of the question of, how do you convey in the small real estate what you do? I thought Both Cigars did a great job. They had this banner. They really leaned on that to kind of convey their information, the contact information, and then it kind of looks like it's like a lounge inside of their place. And they kind of created that atmosphere, and it helps to have like chandeliers hanging behind them. But then they also all wore their shirts. So to me, that exercise of kind of considering how you communicate in small space about your business is almost like a homework assignment. It's like a homework question of how do you make it feel if you do something like pack up and go set up at a table? How do you make it feel like what you do and what you want to communicate to your audience? And then the third question of that is, how can your storefront be used as real estate to do that? How can you utilize that opportunity to come through the window? I know that's a big question, but it's sort of worth sitting with for a couple seconds yourself. Like, what is it you would want to take? If you're on Kicking It with Kenny and you're packing up and going a couple blocks away to convey something, just that exercise of how would you want to communicate and what do you want to create visually? What do you want to say and how do you want it to feel? And then let's bring it back to outside of where you already are. These 3 words, that this is the nerd alert part, scale, proximity, and repetition. These are the places where it's easiest to get lost in storefront work. And this is not our work, but I have run pop-up shops, and I have worked here at Upcycle Part Shop for 7 years. And before then I ran pop-up shops. That's how I met Nick Fedor. He worked at Detroit Shoreway and lent some space, and we sort of activated the space and tried to get people to come in through the windows in other ways. And I learned through those experiences, especially when there's a lot of windows, that scale and proximity and repetition are the biggest pieces to think about. Because you might have a really great idea, but if it's not the right scale, then you're not going to see it from even across the street, let alone from the red light. And if you're the proximity piece is if you're too far back from the surface of the window, it won't be seen. And repetition is like, you can take anything, you know, it might be lollipops. If you have 5,000 of them, you're going to see them. If you have 5, you're not. So just some basic thoughts on that. Here's an example of one Nick might remember. These are wooden tills. We used to talk about these all the time. I feel like I haven't talked about them forever. But you can see from this visual that there are different boxes. Like my mouse is going up here at this one small box. It's, you know, maybe 10 inches tall and 3 inches deep, and they're different sizes. That's the one I'm pointing at. But what we did with these boxes, they were leftover, like industrial leftovers from a company in the same neighborhood. We repeated the box shape over and over, and we put them right up against the window. So the scale became much bigger than 1 or 2 or 10 boxes, because I think we used about 70 to accomplish this look. And there's repetition and there's proximity, and it creates scale from outside. When we get a little closer, we actually filled these boxes with little things. And this is actually a professional storefront designer who lives in our neighborhood who helped us. She is somebody who does things for the big companies that really spend a lot of time and energy on storefront displays. And so this was all her vision. I just took notes, like literally took notes, took pictures and took notes. So I'm going to go back to that last one. So you could see this from the street, even if you didn't know what these were, because these are not things, these boxes are custom sample tills. So if you are getting a new car or new carpeting, you might look at a booklet that has been set by samples that came through these boxes. So these are not they're not something that individuals necessarily interact with, but they're really cool and very substantial, especially when piled up like this. So that's my overview for scale and proximity and repetition. Also, there was some lighting that helped us with this, and lighting will always help. I know somebody mentioned twinkle lights earlier. Cass is going to talk more about that, but these pictures benefit from it being a bright day when I took these pictures. But I just wanted to share that little example as we think about storefronts in some common areas to emphasize. And so back to our storefront again, we don't change it. We don't think we're award-winning, but we do think it's effective. And you can see, we think about repetition, those tendrils just sort of repeat. They're right up at the front windows. And so that's, you know, the repetition, the proximity to the window, and the scale allows them. St. Clair Avenue is a busy street with 4 lanes. You can see that there's a bright thing happening in our storefront from across the street. In fact, there have been movies filmed here, and they said, hey, can you turn it down a little bit? Because we're trying to film this movie, and your really brightly colored storefront doesn't fit into the vibes of the 1960s. So we've taken the tendrils off the windows and then put them back up. But that's we also have some twinkle lights there. I think that those have been up for maybe 7 years. I think we plan to replace those, or we have since this picture was taken. But that is just an example of what I wanted to share on those things. Now, last year we talked about some projects. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of what we went over last year, and then we're going to turn off the screen sharing. We can pause for any questions, and then Cass is going to talk more about specifics. But behind Cass, you'll see in a moment, is the thing that we made last year, which is right here. We call it a fiber fringe backdrop, and it's using ribbon or fabric to attach to one horizontal rope, and then twinkle lights. So this might be interesting for big arched windows. It could be interesting with taekwondo do. It might be what you did a little bit last year with the belts, which I think is really clever. But we're sort of presenting you with some accessible opportunities. And this is one that we did last year. And we have these PDFs that we can share with you again, or Tuba might have saved them. And then we also actually went through this in last year's presentation, so you could look at the YouTube link. But, you know, it's measuring, cutting, and then it's pretty straightforward of like getting it done and tying it on in these ways, and then adding twinkle lights. The other thing we talked about last year, unsurprisingly, at Upcycle Part Shop, we like to use materials that already have existed. So we talked about shipping containers and packaging material and making snowflake pinwheels. We are, you know, pretty pretty committed to these pinwheels. You'll see later, we make them all the time and we use all kinds of different materials for them, but it's because they're really effective at looking whimsical and fun, and they're real simple to make, especially with materials that you already have. Again, twinkle lights really help those kind of sing. So, okay, that is the end of my slideshow. Let me figure out how to get out of here. I hit escape. I'm still in here. Oh no, Tuba, I might need help. This is where I don't quite know how to come back to the group and stop sharing. Oh, I found it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Got it.
Sorry. Okay, so that was what I wanted to share visually. Now we're going to switch to cats, but we can switch to cats and also see if anyone has any thoughts or questions based on what we've talked about already. Okay, so let's hand the spotlight over to Cass, who's phenomenal at conveying enthusiasm, and we'll be here to take some more questions as we go as well. Both
Do I
of
have
us.
to press anything to be featured or anything?
No, I think
Okay,
you're
I'm
just
just gonna do my
ready. You just
thing.
be you.
Wow, thank you for that. It's overpowering. I don't know how to turn on enthusiasm when you're calling for it. But maybe I'll start with this. Something that I was very excited to do. Wow. I just really thought I'd get into character here with a little bit of twinkle light action. We'll come back to that later though. Save that for another time. My name is Cass. Jerman. I've been working at Upcycle Parts Shop for about 3.5 years. My official title is the Shop and Materials Manager. I'm also the volunteer coordinator. I'm most often the voice on social media if you're following us on Instagram or Facebook. And if you've been at the shop before, or if you ever come to the store, you'll probably see me. And if I'm not there, ask for me. Maybe I'm upstairs. We can hang out. We can chat. One thing that we definitely pride ourselves on in the store space, myself and my coworkers included, is that, you know, you may go to a Michael's or a Blick or a Joann's and say, hey, I have this idea, I have this thought, but I'm not necessarily sure how to make it happen. Can you help me? We take that up to the next level, I'd like to think. I mean, I got called out today in a meeting for doing a full demo for somebody at the donation counter when they were like, how did you do that? I'm like, come on over, let me show you. Let me show you. So by all means, feel free to come to Upcycle with questions, whether it's about this or anything else. We'll all do whatever's in our power to help you out. Last year with the Shaker Shines promo, I had a great time. I didn't know what to expect. And then one by one, you guys started coming in. The real estate place, the rock climbing gym, 319 coffee, and everyone came at this challenge in a different way, which primed me for this amazing spot right now to talk to you exactly about how it went. So I learned something really important, and it's that everyone had a totally different approach, not just artistically, but how they were planning on accomplishing this at all. It's like, let's be realistic. You know, I have a creative job, but do I do creative things when I'm not at my job? Absolutely not. I'm tired. When you go home, are you like so excited to decorate your house? Maybe, hopefully. But do you always have that energy in you? Not necessarily. That's okay. So one thing that I picked up from all of these different storefronts that came in was that even though everyone showed up with that same enthusiasm and that same hope and those same visions for elaborate, beautiful anthropology scale window displays, we all had different levels of commitment that we were able to give that, whether it was time, inherent creativity. Some of us are like, I can only draw a stick figure. Some people are scared by creativity whatsoever. So I came up with a great visual. I'm gonna hold this up here just for a moment. When you come back later, you can pause it or screenshot it. And now I'm going to talk to you about it. I came up with the tiers of commitment. First, I think before you begin this project for your own window display, it's important to just decide which one you are, and maybe it changes. Level 1 is simple. It's the low-cost materials. It's easy. It's going to take you the least amount of time. It's something that you can accomplish by yourself if you don't have other people who are raising their hand to help you out. Number 2 is centered, which I thought of it like you're sitting on the couch and you're watching Netflix. You're watching a movie and you just like doing something with your hands. Or you're in a meeting and you can't focus. So number 2 focuses on some projects that deal with sitting in one space and doing a lot of repetitive tasks to create maybe one larger object that you hang up. And then tier number 3 is significant. It speaks for itself. It's like you've got a vision. You like reindeer, snowmen, rolling hills in my window. Like I am committed and everyone is going to stop at my store and they're going to take pictures and it's going to be a selfie wall. It's going to be everything. It takes a village. So let's first come to that and decide where we're at. And then regardless of where you are at on these 3 tiers, what is a couple of things that you can just give to any one of those to really boost it up the next notch? And it's twinkle sprinkles. Get yourself a bunch of the dang LED lights. They last forever. You're going to reuse them for baby showers, wedding showers, birthday parties, nighttime lighting. It's going to just do it. You're not going to regret getting the little LED twinkle lights. Palette power is another thing. One of my coworkers in programming said something brilliant to me, which is if you start with the color palette and you commit to only buying, purchasing, locating, sourcing those specific colors, it's gonna look good no matter how bad of a job you think you did. So find comfort in palette. And then the last one is more so for resourcing materials. It's temporary. Like this window display will come down eventually. We probably don't want to put all of our like savings accounts into it, especially about this time of year. So reach into your borrowing power. I know that Shaker has a pretty robust Buy Nothing group. I'm sure there's also a really wonderful community of creatives. Families, raise your hands, go to your groups and say, hey, I'm looking for these materials. Does anyone have any that I can borrow? Are your favorite decorators on your street like just got a garage full of old stuff that they don't need? Ask them to borrow it. Hang it in your window. Give it back later. It's fine. Like own that. And Upcycle is a huge fan of that too, speaking from, reuse and not purchasing things, but using what we already have within our circles. Maybe just work on collecting those materials first and then deciding, now that I have my pile, my treasure trove, how can I put this up in my window? So, tier number 1, let's go over some examples. And then whoever mentioned their archways, I'm really glad that you did because I'm going to reference that throughout this whole introduction. I even did doodles. Can you tell I like to doodle? Okay. Number 1 is simple. We're going to come up here. You can pause this later when you're looking. Hello, everyone at home who are watching this later already. Simple is, again, the stuff that's the easiest to find, the stuff you're going to already find at your own house. It costs the least amount of time, resources, and energy to do it, and you can probably do it yourself. We're going to start with the box. I don't know what's inside this. Nicole found it somewhere in the store. But we also found a snowflake tablecloth that was down in our basement. We wrapped it up. This could be the Amazon box that you just got a shipment of something in the other day and you saved it off to the side. This could be your cracker boxes, your waffle boxes from the freezer, any old dang box that you find. And now you're just gonna find something to wrap it in. It's okay if it's holiday wrap. It's okay if it's holiday wrapping, if it's maps or blueprints that you find at the store, Upcycle parts shop, if it's just the newspaper and you beef it up with a cool, exciting, colorful ribbon that you find at our shop. And the upside of that too, when you take a big, giant, wrapped up gift box display, is that it's usually recyclable, provided that you didn't use any glitter or foil in your packaging. The next one is something that I learned last year was that people wanted to make snow and like rolling hills in their window. But if you have windows, you usually don't want them to be totally blocked off of light, right? We got to see out the windows. There's a lot of tulle that exists in places like Upcycle Parts Shop, but also curtain liners and bubble wrap and plastic packaging that you get. It looks like garbage when you're standing there, but when it's in a whole big, beautiful pile and you have a little bit of tape or some suction cups to sort of hold it against that glass and give it shape, you've got something that you can see through and that's beautiful. Think lace. In the centered category, hold that up straight. Boop, screenshot. We have our big Fiber Fringe example from last year. You can tell that it is robust, abundant, and huge. It's probably like 6 feet tall. And that is entirely composed out of ribbon that was found here at our store, fabric that was cut into strips, and then of course there's a bunch of little LED lights that are woven into it. The top chunk, what are they all tied to? Branches are a big one and very popular that you just find in your own backyard. Driftwood is a very popular. Long dowels that you could find someplace like here or in a garage. And yardsticks are a big, fun, popular one, and they gave like a really nice nostalgic charm. Another idea that we had is Upcycle has a lot of old collateral, including this postcard from a past event. And so we just got ourselves a little paper punch and we strung them with just tape on a piece of yarn. And when you create a whole bunch of these laying next to one another, you're going to gift yourself what we call a collateral curtain. I made another one myself during a meeting today. This was just glittery paper that I found at the store and some bookmarks that were donated by another organization once upon a time, and some very glittery fun foil. And another classic, which I am a big fan of, and I use it all through the year. These are actually from a shaker organization. We've been using them for years. It's all this like red postcard. A couple of holes punched through, and you got yourself a little bunting to hang. It folds up, it goes right into a gallon Ziploc bag, and it's safe for the next year. These things feel really simple when you look at them, but when you make them yourself, it's actually really prideful. And when you see stuff that's handmade, props to Michelle earlier, that starts conversations. People notice. So it's like, are we trying to fool people by putting together these big elaborate displays, or are we trying to be honest and say, hey, I can be a little creative? And definitely that is super encouraging to other people who come into your space and want to talk to you about it. And then the third one is significant. Significant is, oh, you've got plans, you've got vision, but you're not going to sit and watch Netflix while you're prepping this. You're going to draw out your plan. You're going to need help. You're going to get overwhelmed at one point and go, why did I do this? And your coworkers are going to come in and save you, and you're going to have a great display. These doodles were inspired off of 2 things that actually did happen last year. The first one, someone had an idea to make a giant globe with a snowman in there. I don't know how we pulled it off, and I really wonder how it turned out, but they left very happy. I don't know, go find them. The second one are these little houses, which I made an example right here. Sticking with flat materials keeps things light, and it keeps things recyclable at the end. So I'm holding it backwards so you can see that this was just a box that I found on the ground this morning. But with a file folder, a stapler, and some yarn and a marker, that's it. It's a cute little house. And so with a whole bunch of these planted around the window or at big scale, large, it's a beautiful, handmade, really curious, playful item. My reference to the arches was while Nicole was doing her point, I thought, how would I apply each of those tiers to the archways, just on the fly? So the first one was simple, and I don't know how big your archway windows are, so here's my little person of reference. Apparently they're ginormous in this example, like really big arches. This is, you've got your cotton batting and your box that you wrapped up with your bow. Maybe you've got a sign in there that says something that's going on in your business, a little promotion that's leaned back there. And then these little doodles up here, get yourself a window marker and a friend. Snowflakes will never fail. It's just that little tiny, just like the LED lights, that little tiny thing that is timeless and easy, and it's just what everyone wants. I could imagine throwing this together in a couple of hours and like for serious, and boom, there you have it. The second one, tier 2, we're gonna go to centered. We've got ambition, but not too much. I imagined our giant fiber fringe hanging from maybe like a suction hook here, or maybe it's mounted at each of the sides, and you have your big curtain hanging down, and maybe there's some stuff on the ground and some of the wrapped up boxes there to add dimension. Maybe you have your sign hanging out somewhere. And if you need to see out of that window, very important, maybe it is something that is raised a little higher, or it goes across and then comes down at the side. And then ambition 3 for committed, you have a lot in it. We've got lace fabric hills that are held together with suction cups, maybe a cute little house like I demonstrated, maybe you build up a snowman out of cardboard, and maybe you hang a couple of those cute little embellishing lights up. So it's got a little dimension, and you use that height of the window to sort of stack your image. And that might require a couple of friends to make all those things. So I went on for a little bit, pardon me, and thank you. But I hope that was a little inspiring and at least brings you into Upcycle Parts Shop to come to me at the counter and say, hey, Cass, about that presentation, let's talk about that. I have some thoughts. Thank you.
Isn't she great? That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Cass.
So just where are we? How are people feeling? Do we have questions? We gave some very specific examples that are wide open at the same time, but I'm wondering how you're feeling on your end. Did it spark questions? Did we have key thoughts that you're having? This is the teacher in me, where you just hold longer than anybody wants you to, because that's what it takes sometimes to get the person to say, "Wow!" So it's okay if you don't, but I'm holding that space.
Can I say a few words?
Of course.
Really amazing, you know. I love Cass's twinkles. First of all.
Yeah, Cass's, I know.
And also I love the examples you showed there. Actually looks so easy to do, right? Like using boxes or stuff around your home, but you create something so beautiful, they actually looks more expensive or more time consuming. And thank you for showing us, sharing these great innovative ideas, creative ideas. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And if any of those objects that I did bring up, if that gets you 25% of the way there and you just want to know, Cass, how did you do that? By all means, come on in and ask. These are so simple and they don't require any glue. It's just a stapler and some stuff. And hopefully that little introduction on that technique can really just help you elevate it and take it into a place that makes you feel confident and creative and fun. Tuba, you're right. It's very simple, but it looks cool once you're all done. Don't downplay your efforts. It's great.
I also think, sorry.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just gonna say that like scale, proximity to the window, and repetition are your friends in those examples. Those triangle, that triangle bunting that Cass held up. What I like about these red cards in particular, it could be any color, but these are red and white on the backside, is like if you made 40 of these and you hang them like, you know, like this, sort of like they're like interwoven or they're like coming from different places, it starts to look substantial from that red light, from the block away. So it's that repetition, and then if it's right up in the window, and the scale is like, it's an accidental move that I've seen done, and I've actually done it myself a few times, where you make something small and you're like, this is great, I want to like feature this lovely cutting board. And it looks great inside, but you walk outside and you're like, that's, maybe a passerby sees that, but it's not even like gripping enough to catch somebody's attention when we look at our phones and we're on the move. So big scale is better than small scale every time. So I really like the idea of the lace as the snow. I think that's amazing. I feel like we're going to talk ourselves into doing our own storefront.
No.
Maybe. So we are happy to take a question or two or wherever you're at, but then we also are happy to walk you downstairs and show you around the shop a little bit, because that's fun for us. And also there's a couple examples of some, I think you were mentioning tier 2 level commitments of projects that we have on display in the shop. Does that sound okay with you all? Okay. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn off the camera while we walk. It's just downstairs. We're not even leaving the building, but I don't want anybody to get like seasick or anything. So be right back. Our shop is in the Slovenian National Home, which is right on St. Clair Avenue. And we have a mask policy right now, so I put my mask on. But we are leaving the lobby of the Slovenian National Home and walking into the shop. And if we don't have customers, yeah, okay. So this is inside of our shop.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's open right now. And I'm walking slowly. We wanted to show you a couple of things in particular. One is this fiber fringe right here you can see above our door. That's an example that Casper's showing you, but it's a much shorter example. We have some kits for sale already with this kind of material, and it's just a cool example of a way that we have made our shop look creative. You can see our fringy things here. These were made by a senior center, and they made these out of squares and sewed them and then donated them to us. And I don't know what they were ever going to be, but we just thought they were cool scarves. So this is a great tier 3 commitment thing, right? Like a group of seniors that want to cut squares and then fold them in half and run a stitch through. And then they're all different colors. We buy like boxfuls, and we've sold all the rest of them, but now we won't sell these because we like them so much. But you can see around me great examples of the wealth of materials that we have to offer. And because the shop's busy and you might be hearing a lot of background noise, I'm just going to show you one more thing, and then I'll walk out of here. But back here in the far back, I'm not sure if you can see it, we have our pinwheel flowers up by our Upcycle part shop sign. And those just sort of fill the space. And I think I shared with you how much we love to make those, and we put them everywhere. And then our checkout with our wonderful friends and volunteers. It's a hopping place. And I'm going to take you outside for a second. It's loud, but I want you to see our bright door, our signage. We put some free things out. It's like part of our way of being present in our community is sharing some things with other people in different ways. And so we like to share abundance with our free basket when we can and as we can. And then in addition to what you just saw a really tiny glimpse of, we also have a basement full of supplies. So maps and vinyl tablecloths and blueprints from buildings. Those are all things that could be used for wrapping boxes. And I think the wrapping box example is an excellent example of something that if repeated by 20 or 30, you have a whole scene, like a whole thing happening that looks like holiday season. So again, those are just examples that kind of fit into how we do what we do. But there's many places to go from there. And like Cass said, the painting, the painting that can go, the marker paints that can go right on glass, that's a really great way to use that proximity right on the surface of glass. Or like we do, vinyl stickers that can be kind of semi-permanent. Those are my thoughts. Any thoughts from you now that you've heard about this? Sarah, are you thinking about your belts differently? Or Michelle, or I'm sorry, I didn't catch the other name, with the arched windows?
I love those pinwheels, and I'm gonna look up how to make those, unless you have a sample. And the bubble wrap is perfect. I think it looks so cool. And I have this tree. I don't know. We made this giant tree for the Imagine Chagrin art exhibit that we're gonna reuse as like kind of a centerpiece for it. But I was gonna put like tissue paper balls on it. But I love the look of the bubble wrap. It looks so icy and cool. So I'm gonna try to acquire some. I love it.
Right. It looks surprising. I mean, like she said, it kind of looks like something you don't value until you start to value it. So I'm glad to hear that. And we did make a PDF, and I can make sure Tuba has that so that you can see the PDF. But really, it's like accordion folding from elementary school days, and it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Anyone else have any thoughts or questions or feedback?
I like the idea of making everything simple, and then just being able to use materials that you already have in the office. I hate wasting anything. So just seeing how you have the different strings like hanging down. I think they're behind you. I can't remember what they, yeah, those. I like the idea of making those, and I can even use some of the materials that I already have in the office, like the faux lavender and twine or different things like that, and incorporating some of the string lights. So I'm already thinking about things that I have already that I use for other events and special occasions that I can put a little twist to them, and then they can be festive for the holidays. So I like the idea of that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we have a lot of, I mean, you may need more supplies or you may not. So I love the way you're thinking. We do have a lot of ribbon and fabric, and I think we have some burlap too, if you needed extra materials to add to. But like what you're saying is even better. That's like reducing what you're consuming. So if you can already use what you already have, that's the tops.
And that's the kind of energy too to take into the rest of this year and all of the events and things that are coming up through the rest of the year. It's like we have been trained for years and years and years to buy into the fact that we need to go to the dollar store. We need to get this color wrapping paper. We need to package things up in this way. There's something that we need to be performing to. And sometimes when we take that like zero waste route, it can feel, sometimes not authentic to all of us. And like, that's okay. But just by making these tiny little changes and instead using what's already in the house to wrap up boxes or to create big, beautiful, elaborate hanging structures from, or just using paper to be that banner that we hang across for someone's birthday party. That's stuff that's going to stick with you for years to come, and it's going to save you money, and it's going to make creating those things actual fun projects to do with your people instead of going to the store.
Yeah, Cass and I were daydreaming that like it would be really fun if a business was like, let's do a craft night and like you all work together on a thing, like cutting triangles out of collateral material. And if you want to do that, we might want to come because that sounds pretty fun. And we have some punches and extra scissors. So holler if that feels like energy to anyone. And I bet Tuba and I could make something happen. But it's great to hear your feedback and to hear your thoughts. Simple and what we already have is where it's at. Lighting is important too. So twinkle lights are like a workaround. I feel like we didn't have even 10 years ago as easily as we do now because you can get the battery operated ones from wherever you get things like that. You can get them. And then, spotlights and fancy warm lights, and there's a lot of ways you can do it. But if you're a small business that doesn't do that as your specialty, then twinkle lights allow you to sort of get kind of glowy like Cass is for a reasonable amount in a reusable way.
We actually have these, have had these for like a few years, and they were for a birthday party of ours back a few Novembers ago. And we gave all of the other storefronts on the street one of these to put around a little sign in their window. And ever since, we've just been finding tons of reasons to use them. And they lived by my desk. They all roll up into a tiny little sandwich bag. And I was able to just grab one 2 minutes before we started to say, they're going to like this.
Yeah, this is our first time wearing them, but it's definitely not going to be our last.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yes, please.
Well, I love this, first of all. This is very up my alley and so fun. And I like your twinkly light wearing. I was gonna ask, like, what do you think about like for a business that does something in particular that like they want to highlight through the display itself? Like, you sell smoothies or sneakers, or you're a therapist, or you whatever, fill in the blank. Like, are there like maybe little tips about how to think about that and to make that come through somehow?
Message is huge, and I'm a big proponent of that too. In my first example for simple, I included behind these little wrapped up boxes a sign that says wow, so that you can see it. But that could say anything. That sign that leans in within your beautiful landscape that you've already created, or hangs up in your window where you've already made your snowflakes with your beautiful marker. That could say your promotion. If you were someone who didn't provide a good, but more so provided a service, maybe that service is, you know, communicable through a beautiful quote or a thought, and you could write that out to capture the eyes of someone for the holiday season, and then below it with a little bit of copy, talk about what that service is that you provide. This is where themes really thrive. And so if you have a PAL too, really great opportunity to just do a little brainstorming session with a coworker to say, we're going to put a sign in the window. What should it say? Also, there's going to be snowflakes and snowmen. So make sure it fits.
Yeah, I think that those are great examples, and that was a great answer. And I think that's where Cass and Lauren and Jane, who work in the shop, will be supportive. Also, if somebody comes in and is like, I have no idea what to do, we will start with what we started with. Like, we don't, this isn't our business, but I think it's like maybe the brainstorm session quickly of like, you're an automotive store. So, you know, what is it you want to convey? Maybe it's less about conveying that in the window, but it's more sort of like featuring a tire. And then, you know, it's like there's arrows pointing to something, or it's kind of using reused materials to convey without getting too big, because we don't know how to get too big, but we do know how to work with like the kind of things we share.
One example that I noticed last year was for 319 when they did coffee. They ended up doing a very simple like cotton batting approach in their windowsill, but then they also put out featured bags of coffee. In others, I love that you mentioned the tire, because sometimes it's just one iconic image that is specific to your business or your mission that is that attention getter. And then it's complemented by all of the themes that we're trying to evoke this season. Right, so that really goes a mile. That was a good
like
suggestion.
A tire with a scarf around it, and then snow underneath it, right? Like the lace snow. Who knows? We can keep riffing, but I think that's a really good question, Julie. And I think that's where it's sort of like, it's more about the brainstorming than it is about going big with materials. And that's where we've realized that too as we talk about this. Like starting too big kind of can shut down the whole thing because it's overwhelming. But we think you guys got it.
And all of that to say, like, I was mentioning this to Nicole earlier in the week, it's just so cool at all that you are all coming together as businesses within a specific community to challenge each other in this way. So, like, what an awesome opportunity you're on this Zoom call together. What an awesome opportunity to meet each other for coffee, to brainstorm, to say, this is my business and I'm not really sure where to go. Where are you at so far? Because of course, we all want to support each other's storefronts, and we want to put together an Instagram or Facebook post that says, look at all of this great work that I did. Also, look at my neighbor's great work, and really just hold each other in that way. I wish that last year I would have seen 2 storefronts come in on a date to Upcycle, to work together, to think about what they were going to do, and an awesome way to like hold each other accountable for that creative drive too.
That's an awesome idea.
And Nicole,
Cool.
Thank you so much. That was really amazing. It was such a fun to have you here. Thank you for sharing your creative ideas, your expertise, your insights on window decorating. Thank you again. And thank you attendees for your time and attending for this workshop. I hope you find that ideas helpful and inspiring. We are looking forward to see your window displays at the coming up second annual Shaker Shines Holiday Window Decoration Showcase. I'd like to let our attendees know that SHDC will give 10 businesses $30 credit to purchase their window decorating materials at Upcycle Parts Shop. So please let me know by Friday if you want to buy items, great materials at Upcycle Parts Shop. I will give you instructions how to use the credit. And I will also share the instructions for pinwheel, snowflake pinwheel, and other instructions with attendees, and also the link to our YouTube channel to view the recorded version of this workshop. And that's all for today. And thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.